Hello, my name is Captain Shahid Ayub. I am a retired Boeing 777 captain. As I discussed in the last vlog, which was in Urdu, the Air India plane crash, what happened and what is the next. So, in the last vlog, I explained about 9 or 10 possibilities which could have been the cause of the both engine failure. It might be both engine failure or a single engine failure, and later on some other possibilities which might combine together to make all these what happened. So this Boeing 787 Dreamliner crashed on the 12th of June 2025, just about 35 seconds or 40 seconds after takeoff from Ahmedabad. The flight was headed to London Gatwick with 242 passengers. Only one passenger survived and over 30 people on the ground also died. So total death is around, is yet not confirmed exactly, but it is around 280 to 290. The flight was airborne for remained less than 35-40 seconds. So Captain Sumit Sabharwal had around 8,200 hours of flying experience, and he was also an Air India instructor. The co-pilot Clive Kundar had also 1,100 flying hours. Investigators are checking their training, qualification, flight history, medical records. The role of the dispatcher also, the dispatcher is the gentleman who make all these flight planning and present to the captain, to the crew. They're also checking the flight role of the dispatcher, who might be there is some error in the calculation or something like that. While doing all this investigation, the DGCA meanwhile also auditing flying schools across India for safety compliance, also making sure all training licenses and the flight planning are also up to standards. This is a normal procedure whenever there's something happens and any crash or incident or accident happens. This is the normal procedure that the regulator issued all these instructions to make sure that meanwhile the investigation is in progress. So some next accident or incident could not happen. So these are normal instructions they issue. So the DC also ordered the emergency drills at the government airports on 30th of June. Operators also need to coordinate flight plans with the airports nearby to prepare for emergencies. So this means this is the normal procedure. Whenever there is a flight, the operator also submit a flight plan. This is not the new thing. I don't know why they have issued the second time this one. The purpose of the flight plan is the ATC knows this flight goes from which point to which point and how much fuel and the route and all those navigation equipment the aircraft have on board, all those emergency equipment the aircraft might have on board. So all these information are included in the flight plan. This is a normal procedure which is going on all over the world. So, but the DGCA have reissued a letter. The DGCA has also conducted audits and surveillance to monitor compliance with all these new measures. Meanwhile, the Boeing commercial head, Stephanie Pope, recently visited Air India headquarters and met with its chairman. The crash and challenge both Air India recently bought by the Tesla Group and the Boeing, which is trying to regain trust after two Boeing 737 MAX 8 crashes. As you know, one is Ethiopian and another one is in Indonesia. Those 737 crashes, Boeing has a major hit at that time, and they ground all Boeing 737 flying the world for about 2 years, and they revise all those procedures and the glitches in the software and all those things, and retraining of the crew and all those things. And it was the fault of the Boeing, of course, at that time, and finally they fixed the problem. And Now this is another thing which with the 787, which is if there is some problem with the Boeing, there is a big blow to the Boeing. So meanwhile, after this accident, the Air India has cancelled almost 66 flights using these Dreamliners, and international routes to London, Paris, Vienna and Dubai has been disrupted in all these cancellations. Whatever the finding which they have till yesterday, no major safety problem found in other Dreamliners, because they have ordered to check all those Dreamliners which the Air India has, their safety record, their maintenance records, and they found no major safety problem on those aircrafts. However, maintenance and coordination issues have been noted. Some maintenance issues they have noted, and let's see how they will work with this. The investigators will, of course, which are working on this accident, of course, they will review wreckage and engine damage. The black box recording, voice and flight data recorder, of course, they will. It has to go to the Boeing, because I don't know they can decode in India or not, because Pakistan doesn't have this facility, and it is a very, very special job. So today I just saw a few vloggers were saying that it has been reported by the Air India that the DFDR has been damaged very badly, and maybe they were trying to say that it might not be decoded, but I don't think so that it cannot be decoded. It will be decoded, and they will find it out what happened actually. Possible mechanical or human errors which they are discussing. What went wrong actually? Is it a human error or a mechanical error or a combination of more, or what else? Or because from the initial, somebody told was just guessing there is a flap protection by mistake, or both engine failure, or fuel starvation, or one engine failure and the other engine was shut down by mistake, or wind shear. There are so many issues and the possibilities which I also discussed in the first vlog. But right now we can't say that what actually happened. We can't say with full authority and with the full surety that what actually has happened, It was also discussed that might have bird strike, and I don't think so. It's bird strike can be so severe that both the engines shut down. Pilot mistake like shutting off the wrong engine, which I also discussed in the first vlog. It might be a cause, because most of the time when we do the simulator training, and the purpose of this simulator training is always like this, that we make mistake, because human is always prone to make a mistake, that we can't say that human cannot make a mistake. That in the simulator training we have seen that sometimes that during takeoff and on other very crucial flight phases, one thing goes wrong, and for example, the one engine fails, and in hurry, and in panic, and of course we are in a simulator, but even then there is a pressure. So the other live engine with the serviceable engine, the other pilots, the pilot not flying, has shut it down. So this is what the training is. So it is a possibility, but even we can't say like this that it has been done, because till the time the DFDR and the voice recorder is not there and the findings are not there, it could take several years, what I see, for full forensic investigation into the disaster to run its full course. For example, if you see the final report into the SeaWorld helicopter crash in Queensland, Australia, you might remember it, back in 2023, which claimed the lives of the 4 people and injured 9 others, was only revealed in April this year, almost 2 years. Because whenever you decode all flight data recorder and the voice recorder, and especially in this sort of accident, which when the wide body aircraft is involved, they have to take all those parts and they see very, very carefully what has happened. It is not a short process. They might issue a preliminary report, but the full report might take 2 years or more. As you know, and I have so many times said that the 80% or 70% of the plane crashes are linked to the human error or the decisions. Somebody say 60%, somebody is 70%, but that is a different opinions. But more than 60 or 70% plane crashes are due to the human error. Very less chances that the machine fails like this if it has happened. Human factors include pilot's training, mental state, the pilots use different tools or environment conditions, the actual pilot health on that specific day or that specific moment. All those things include the human factors. Let's discuss the history of speculation and vilification. Past incident shows that the speculation publicly often blames pilots unfairly. As I said, whenever there is an accident or incident, that is a normal thing that most of the vloggers or after the accident, when everybody dies, including the pilots, that is a simple thing is that you put all the blames to the pilot, which is very, very unfair. Secondly, before the investigation, before the official report, we all blames. The pilot did this, pilot did this, and pilot might have done this. So this is very unfair. For example, since the disappearance of Malaysian airline flight 370 on March 2014, speculation has there was a speculation that whether the chief pilot Zahari Ahmed Shah was responsible for the disaster and the death of another 238 people on board. This has deeply upset the sister. I think the name was Sakinab Shah, the captain's sister. In 2016, she told CNN she feels her brother is a scapegoat and she must defend it. Similarly, the pilots of British Midland accident near Kegworth in 1989, in which 47 people died, were also publicly vilified. The pilots who survived the crash were experienced but misidentified which engine had failed and shut down the wrong one. As I earlier told you, this is very important. Once one engine failed or one component of the aircraft failed, you shut down the other component. That sometimes you misread this one. You have the engine which is unserviceable, which has failed. We have to shut it down. We have to carry certain procedures on the failed engine. So this has to be understood that because the time is short and there is a pressure on the pilots, and sometimes, of course, they are trained for this. There's no point, but sometimes because of the human factor, you always shut down the serviceable thing. So this is the case over here in this accident which I'm referring now. They failed and shut down the wrong one. They were widely criticized in the press for the error and tarnishing their reputation, losing their jobs, and no doubt causing more stress to their families. The investigation later revealed in this particular accident, not this, the one which I'm referring, that the pilots themselves have not received any similar to training as they transitioned to a newer variant of the aircraft they were flying. So they were transferred to the newer aircraft, and they did not get the training on that special aircraft, that's different variant aircraft, and that's why when they didn't have the training by the operator, or it was not certified by the regulator, so they don't know how to read that checklist, how to do that proper checklist over there. They shut down the wrong engine, and the accident happened, and the people, so many people died. So this shows how undue public speculation about an airline disaster can add to the distress of the victim and their families. So such blame can hurt families, ruin careers, and distract from real investigations. So my point is, whenever there is an accident and incident, I've seen so many people on, so many vloggers who referring to this Air Indian crash. They are speculation. This has happened. This has happened. This has happened, and nobody knows what has happened. It is all gray area till the time that we do not get a proper report on this. Because now, few days back, this the few vloggers, they also said that the ram air turbine has why it came out. So if you play the frame by frame video, which I said in the last video, the frame by frame, you get some ghost images, you know. So it is not very clear that whether the ram air turbine was out or not. The ram air turbine, as I told you previously, it only came out in case of both engine failure, the complete electrical failure, and the complete hydraulic failure. So the conditions are this, but we don't know whether that spot which the vlogger has shown on the video, in the frame by frame in the video, whether that is a ram air turbine or not. That is not very clear. So it is the speculation, or it is something which we are not sure about it. So no doubt pilots and aviation experts are speculating in the private right now about the cause of the particular disaster. Cafes, pubs and crew rooms will be rife with the discussions and the opinions. It is human nature to want to know what has happened. That's natural. But to speculate in public won't assist the investigative process, nor will help the families of the victims. And that is, you know, that is the final thing. So we should avoid the speculation and or giving any open statement that this has happened. The investigators need to work without external pressure to ensure accurate findings. Respecting this process maintains integrity and support the many people who are currently experiencing unimaginable grief. Investigators now face the grim task of sifting through the wreckage and decoding the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder of this Boeing 787 Dreamliner to piece together what went wrong on this particular phase of the flight in this takeoff, during this takeoff. Under international rules set by the United Nations Aviation Body ICAO, a preliminary report should be released within 30 days, with the final report ideally completed within 12 months. So, as I earlier said, normally it should be issued within 12 months or 1 month preliminary report, but normally if the accident is like this big bird, you know, so it might take more time, 2 years or 3 years, something like that. But preliminary report may be issued in 1 month or a couple of months, you see. This is the rarest of the rare crashes, a controlled flight into terrain just 30 seconds after takeoff. To my knowledge, nothing quite like this has ever happened. Did both engines fail due to bird strike or fuel contamination? Were the flaps improperly extended, reducing lift to a heavily loaded jet in extreme hot weather conditions? Was there a maintenance error during engine servicing, or did an inadvertent crew action cut off fuel to both engines? Anything could have happened, but we have to wait for the really cause to know. Again and again, my emphasis is on this, that we should stop speculation and discussing that with surety that this has happened. There are so many causes, as I explained. There are so many causes. It may be a complete human error, or it may be a complete mechanical error, or there may be a combination of both. So there are so many. So the Indian Army and engineers preparing to remove wreckage of the Air India flight in Ahmedabad. Aircraft investigations rely on elimination, matching physical evidence from the wreckage with recorded aircraft performance data to build a coherent picture of what went wrong. So the job of the investigators is that they link the actual wreckage, they find out the clues from the wreckage, and then they see the flight data recorder and the voice recorder, and they make the calculation, then try to understand what went wrong actually. All those things they combine together, and this is a very, very difficult job and quite time-taking job. Every scotched cable, damaged turbine blade, aeroplane maintenance log, and signals and sounds from the flight data and the cockpit voice recorders will be examined. The first clues on the ground may come from the wreckage of the two engines. At least 3 investigators said this thing, because as I said, the wreckage to the investigator is a very, very important thing, and that is why they collect all this wreckage, and they take it to a hangar or something like that, and they try to find it out what has actually happened. You can tell from the damage wreckage whether the engines were generating enough power when this aircraft crashed, or these engines were already failed before impact. So there's one gentleman, Peter Goyes, a former managing director of the US National Transport Safety Board and TSB. He was talking to the BBC. He said that turbine fracture differently when spinning at high speed. So that is the first clue to what has happened. So now, for those who doesn't have flying experience, so it is for them that what is turbine. So turbine, there's a compressor, there is a fan, and the high bypass ratio engines of the jet aircraft, all those jet aircraft have high bypass engines. So there's on the front, if you see there's something is rotating in the engine, that's called fan part. So after the fan, there is a compressor. So there's a long compressor, 10, 15, 16 or 17 stage compressor. Then there's a turbine, 3, 4, 5 stage turbine. So the main purpose of the turbine is to produce power to rotate compressor. So there's a long story in the engine, but I just make a shortcut for you. So the main purpose of the turbine is to produce power so that the fan is rotated, because the most of the thrust is produced by the fan, which normally if you go to there while boarding to the aircraft, if you have a chance, you see there's a long, big fan on the front of the engine. So most of the thrust is produced by the fan, but that fan is rotated by the turbine. So that this gentleman, Peter, is saying that if the turbine is rotating on its full speed, so if during that rotation of full speed, if aircraft impact on the ground is the aircraft crash, then that turbine fractures absolutely differently if that turbine has damage or it has shut down before the impact, and then it's damaged differently. That is what he is saying. Now we have to see that what we have discussed, we have to wait for the preliminary report, or the finals will take too long. So at least we have to wait for the preliminary report to come out. And yesterday, what I can say that I saw a preliminary report, I think that was a bogus preliminary report. And why I'm saying this, because they said that the ground power connection with the there is a connector on the nose of the aircraft where the ground power is connected, and they said there was a water injection in that area, and then there was a sparking in the bus bar, and that bus bar sparking, there was a problem that the DC power was not supplied to the fuel shut-off valves, and because the fuel shut-off valve is a spring-loaded valve, and when there was no DC power to the fuel shut-off valve, the fuel shut-off valve automatically closes because it was supposed to close against that spring tension. So that's how both the engines fuel shut-off valve closed, and the fuel to both the engines was shut down. So this was the logic. So I don't think so that is the case, because there are so many redundancies available in these type of aircraft. If the one power goes, there's some other thing which automatically take over. There's not only one option in these aircraft. But again, I'm saying, let's wait. There may be a complete mechanical failure, or there may be a complete human error, or a combination of both. But keep in mind, there's a gentleman with the name Sam Salapo, who is a veteran engineer at Boeing with was a veteran engineer at Boeing with more than 40 years of experience. In his work at Boeing, Mr. Salapo observed shortcuts employed by the Boeing to reduce bottleneck during the 787 assembly process that placed excessive stress on the major airplane joints and embedded drilling debris between key joints on more than 1,000 planes. That is the testimony which Mr. Salapo has given to the Senate committee, and that is a long testimony, and he alleges that these errors in the manufacturing process and at the Boeing 787 assembly significantly reduce the lifespan of the airplane and may be difficult to identify. After raising these concerns by the Salapo, he was involuntarily transferred from the 787 program to the Boeing 777 program. At the 777 program, Mr. Salapo immediately noted additionally safety concerns regarding the application of the fuselage automated upright build and detriment assembly process that resulted in significant misalignment between parts, which may affect at least 400 777 series airplanes. He also observed Boeing pressure Legion engineers to continue production despite the presence of the unexamined defects. Another example of the scheduled over safety culture at Boeing, in response to his concerns, Mr. Salapo was retaliated against by his direct supervisors and Boeing senior management. He was threatened with termination, excluded from the important meetings, projects, and communication, denied responsible requests for medical leave, assigned work outside of his expertise, and effectively declared persona non grata to his colleagues. So this is a long testimony, which if you want to read that testimony in the Senate committee, you can go, Google it, and it's available on the. So the short point is that there may be a complete mechanical issue or the engine issue at the Boeing part, but right now we can't say this, and we should not say this, that this is the case. We should avoid saying this case beside this testimony, because that's a different thing, and that is between the Salapo and the Boeing and the committee. But let's hope this again preliminary report comes out as soon as possible, and we can say with surety what actually has happened, and avoid speculation or saying this this is a case, or this has happened, or this has happened. Thank you very much.